Okay, we'll go ahead and get started here. For those of you that aren't able to join live, this will be a recorded event, so you'll be able to see this on our Facebook Follow Up Boss Success Community page. There's a few things that I'm going to go over here. Give me 1 second, we'll jump into it. Okay, so I'm going to start going through two of our newest features, and then I'm going to show you a couple of Zapier tricks as well. For those of you that have used Zapier, and for those of you that have not used Zapier, I will show you some of the very basic things that you can do with it as well. Anyone that is joining, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the comments section, and I will respond as those pop up. So we'll start here with one of our newest features that we just released, and that is our team inbox or company inbox. This is a feature that was added about, I think, a month ago or so, and you can find it under the inbox tab here. The purpose of this feature is to give you more control over what you can do with your assigned follow-up boss company number. Each account and each person has a company number. Sorry, not each person, but each account has a company number. The account administrator can find that under admin under the company tab. And you'll see what that phone number is. This is an assigned phone number that we assign you. It's something that can be edited by you at least up to the first 6 digits, so you can pick the area code and the location that that number is from. The addition that we added was basically more control over this team inbox for this number. So historically, you could call this number and it would route to the assigned agent, or if the person did not exist yet in your follow-up boss database, it would route to the account owner. And I'm going to show you a few new things that you can do when people call or text this number. So if we head over to the inbox tab, you'll see a little gear icon next to your team inbox. It might say company instead of team inbox. I just edited the name of mine, which I'll show you how to do in a second as well. So clicking on the gear icon right here, you'll see your team inbox is listed. You can hit the edit pencil over here on the right-hand side, and this is going to bring up the edit screen. What this does is it allows you to choose which people on your team actually have access to view the inbound communications coming into this inbox. That includes texts, and it also includes phone calls. So on the left-hand side here, I can select which folks over here will have access to this inbox under their inbox tab. Anyone else that does not have their box checked will not even be able to see this inbox in their inbox tab. Anyone with a green call icon here, that means they have our calling add-on, which means that if someone calls this company number and they are the assigned agent for that lead, they're going to receive the call in their desktop application. So we can see here, Agent Caroline does not have our add-on dialer. Kara does. So if someone was to call the company number and it was Kara's assigned lead, she would actually receive that phone call in her desktop app. So there's two kind of important distinctions with call routing for this company inbox before we get into the advanced routing. Again, if someone calls this company number and it is someone who exists in your follow-up boss database, it's going to automatically try to route that call to the assigned agent. So if the assigned agent is someone with the dialer, again, it will ring their desktop app. If the assigned agent is someone without the dialer, it is going to ring their cell phone that is under My Settings. So whatever they have set up under My Settings. There's also some additional routing rules for people who are not already in your follow-up boss database. So maybe you're using this number for marketing and you have this on a billboard or business cards or something of that nature, and you have people who obviously don't exist in your database yet that are calling this number. What you can do is you can still set up the same kind of routing here, and it's going to ring all these people at once, or you can go over here and kind of set up what happens when an incoming call rings in. So you can see here that when there's an incoming call, it's going to ring members with the calling add-on, aka it would ring Kara here. and then it would also ring any additional mobile numbers that you list here. So you can either choose a mobile number for someone that already exists on your team. Like I could choose Jack here, or I could just type in my own number and I could add that in, and now it's going to call that number as well. You can list up to 5 numbers here, and that's going to all ring at the same time. So the dialers over here are going to ring, and then all of these mobile numbers are going to ring, and the first person who picks up the phone is going to receive that call. Again, that's just for folks calling your company number that are not already in your Follow Up Boss database to begin with. There's a few other options on this. When there's no answer, you'll be able to either send that call to voicemail, or you could forward it to an outside number. So you could forward that to, let's say, your call answer service, your after hours call answer service. You'd be able to forward that over there. Additionally, you have some control over what happens when it's inside or outside of your company office hours. That can be edited here, or you can navigate straight to this by going to admin and then company. This is where you specify your office hours. You could set it up for every day, or you could set it up for weekdays or weekends, or you could do an individual per day hour here and add specific days with different times. We'll head back over to our settings here. So here, when it's outside of office hours, again, you could specify that it goes to voicemail, or again, you could have it go to an after hours or call service type of a number, or maybe you want it to ring like an admin or team leader's cell phone. You could do that as well. And then lastly, you can record your voicemail to be used anytime you have these go to voicemail settings set. So again, to kind of sum up, or TLDR, the whole inbox feature, if you have someone who calls or texts this number here, you're going to give certain people on your team access to be able to receive those calls and texts, specifically when that person that's calling or texting is not already in your Follow Up Boss database. And again, for people who are calling and texting that number that are in your Follow Up Boss database, it's going to route those texts and calls to the assigned agent already. So I'll move on here to one of our new features. I guess this is more of an updated feature than a new feature. I'm going to switch over here. We're going to take a look at the new website activity section here on the leads profile. All right, so historically, when you navigated to a person's lead profile and you looked at the website activity, if this didn't come from one of our supported, or if the lead didn't come from a supported IDX or website provider with Follow Up Boss, it was going to show you nothing there. What we've done now is it's going to show you the average price point for the properties that that person's looking for. So whether that lead's coming from Zillow or Realtor.com, or a different source like your own website, maybe one of our IDX integrations like Ylopo or Curator, it's going to show you the average price point of the properties that that person is looking at. It's also going to show you the average bedrooms that they're looking at, and then the zip codes that they're looking at. It's also going to show you the top 5 most recent events or activities that have occurred for this lead. So that includes viewed properties, page views, and then saved properties. You'll see saved properties with a little heart icon next to this. And then lastly, you'll be able to click directly on where this source came from or where that lead came from, and it's going to navigate you right to that source page. So I'll show you another example here with Zillow specifically. So again, you can see you have the average price point, average bedrooms, and then the zip code that this came from. I'll navigate over here to the Follow Up Boss website real quick. Under how it works, there's an integrated website section. At the bottom here, these are the companies that are going to work the best for website integrations with Follow Up Boss, meaning they have the most robust integrations for website activity. So if you're wanting to see those viewed pages, those saved properties, those property inquiries, you want to have kind of the most bang for your buck, so to speak, in the leads profile. These are the companies that are going to work the best for that. All right. Lastly, I'm going to hop over to Zapier here. If you've never used Zapier before, or never heard of Zapier, Zapier is basically a middleman that connects two different companies together. So there's a lot of companies that don't organically talk to each other, meaning let's say Facebook and Follow Up Boss might not normally talk to each other, but Zapier becomes that middleman that allows those companies to send data back and forth. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you some basic Zapier setups. I'm going to specifically focus on a few tricks that you can do with our Zapier app. For most basic things, Zapier is free, depending on how many zaps you're actually sending back and forth, so how much data you're sending back and forth between two companies. But for the most part, it'll be free for most typical things. The paid version of Zapier gives you some advanced filtering options, lets you use some premium zaps, and then kind of unlocks some more zaps if you are planning on sending like thousands of data events back and forth. So I'm going to go in here to the Make a Zap section. I'm going to start off by showing you a neat trick you can do by triggering a follow-up boss action off of a follow-up boss trigger. So we're basically going to make a follow-up boss to follow-up boss Zapier integration here. The cool thing is this allows you to trigger different things based on something like, let's say, a tag being added to a lead in follow-up boss. And I'm actually going to use that as my example here. So if I go down to the follow-up boss section here, again, this is the trigger part of the Zap. So when this happens, do this. So we're starting on the when this happens part of it. So I'm going to click follow-up boss here. I'm going to choose my trigger event. So again, something is going to happen when this trigger event occurs. So I'm going to choose tag added to a contact. There's a bunch of options here. So you can trigger this off of a new contact being added, a new deal, a stage being updated for a deal, person stage, and then when a new appointment is added as well. So we're going to focus on the tag being added here. I already have a follow-up boss account in here, which I'm going to use. For those of you that haven't already set up an account in Zapier, you're going to navigate to the admin tab in follow-up boss. You're going to click on more, go to the API tab, and you're going to copy this API key, and that's going to be used to link your follow-up boss account with Zapier for the purpose of connecting these different things. So I'm going to go back to the Zapier section here. I'll continue that now that I've selected my follow-up boss account. I also need to choose my tag name. So I'm going to call this banana. I will continue here. I also need to make sure that I actually have a lead that exists with that tag. So I'm going to go to my test contact here. I'm going to add a tag. I'm going to call this banana. And I will save that to the lead. So we'll test this. And again, this is just trying to find data for what we've specified for this trigger. It looks like it did because it let us continue here. So it found this sample contact, which was the one that I had just created or just added the tag to. So this is my test Eric contact. Again, this is just for the purpose of setting up the Zap. You just need some kind of sample data there for the purpose of setting up the Zap. So again, we're moving on to the second part of the Zap. So we handled the when this happens. So the trigger part of the Zap, we're now going to be going on to the do this part of the Zap, aka the action step of the Zap. So when a tag is added, i.e. the banana tag, something is going to happen here, and we're going to specify that. So there's different things you can do with Zapier when a trigger occurs. So you can do actions with multiple different companies or one different company. So I could have something happen in Conversion or Mojo or Facebook pages when that banana tag is added. I'm actually going to just do a follow-up boss to follow-up boss Zap here. We're not going to do any other company integrations at the moment. So I'm just going to show you some things you can do just by using our Zaps. So I'll choose follow-up boss. Now we're going to be choosing the action events. So this is what's going to occur when that trigger happens. So you can do a new inquiry or website event. This is basically like a registration or a property inquiry on something that's being triggered. I could create a note if I wanted. I could apply an action plan to a contact. I could add tags to a contact. I could just create or update a contact without triggering any notifications or action plans. You can reassign agents based on that trigger. You can log calls, create deals and tasks, add collaborators, change stages, or even pause an action plan here. So I'm going to focus on adding collaborators. This actually came up in a recent support inquiry. Someone asked how can they add collaborators when a specific tag was added. My recommendation for that was to use Zapier and basically create this exact Zap here. They probably use a different tag besides banana, but this is what I'm using for the sake of the demo. So I'm going to click continue here now that I've selected add collaborators. Again, I'm going to choose my same Follow Up Boss account here. Click continue. And now we're focusing on setting up the actual collaborator addition. So I first need to figure out how Follow Up Boss is going to find the lead that's being referenced. So I'm actually going to do this based off of the lead ID. So what this is doing is when the banana tag is added, Follow Up or Zapier needs to be able to know some property of that contact to be able to find the contact and then do something in the action section here. If you don't have access to the ID here, you may want to use the email address. That's what I'd recommend. You also have phone that you can use to find that contact. So the next step here is to choose my collaborator. So this is going to load up all of the agents in the account. I'll use Agent Caroline here. Looks like we can add multiple collaborators, so I'll choose one other collaborator. And I'll use Becca Test here. We'll click continue. If I wanted, I could also test this Zap out at the bottom here. I could click test and continue, which I will do in this case. Okay, so the test was successful, or it would have thrown an error there. So I'm going to turn the Zap on, and we'll test this live as well, so you can see what happens. Theoretically, now if we go to this contact, we should see these two collaborators, which we do. So that test was successful. Now we need to do a live test. We have the Zap turned on. We need to add the banana tag onto a contact and see if those collaborators are actually added. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to Buck Riley's profile. We'll add banana. We will save this. Some Zaps don't trigger instantly, so some Zaps do take a few minutes to actually add the collaborator on. So we'll wait here for a second while this is running. Well, it looks like it actually already finished. So that was faster than expected. That took about 5-10 seconds or so. You can see that it added the collaborators. Sometimes you'll see it will take up to 15 minutes, especially if it's a trigger for a company that doesn't have what's called a webhook set up on their Zap. So that's some bonus technical info for you. But for the purpose of our Zap, it usually is pretty quick. So I'm going to pull up a few documents as well that can help out on some of the things that we've covered. So if you go to help.followupboss.com, we have a brief rundown on the website activity section that I showed. So here's a really good screenshot from an article that Danielle actually created on our support team here. So this kind of shows what it would look like if you're using that website activity. It also shows kind of the technical breakdown of what's actually shown. For the team inbox, kind of a similar thing. Paul on our support team created a video that shows a breakdown of how the team inbox works, shows kind of how a few ways you could use it, and then it goes over the steps that I also went over on this video. Shows some of the call routing, shows what happens when a call is missed, and then it goes over the routing rules that I went over for whether or not the contact exists. And then lastly, there is a Zapier article that does show some basic Zap setup. So if you are new to Zapier, it's a really powerful tool. There's a lot of our customers using this to do some pretty advanced things, which is really great. It just is a tool that connects a bunch of different companies that would never normally connect. So you have about 3,000 or 4,000 companies that Zapier has, which basically allows you to connect Follow Up Boss with any of those companies that exist on Zapier. So this is something I would recommend checking out. If you've never set up a Zap, you may find it useful for some things, especially if you have a few companies that you currently don't integrate with Follow Up Boss and you're having to navigate around to different systems. This would be an easy way to mitigate that. And I'm not seeing any, let's see. Oh, sorry, Chris. I think I was sharing the wrong screen there. 1 second here. I'm just going to link this. So there is the team inbox article. The website activity article. And the Zapier article. So those are the 3 articles I was referencing there. So I'll wait here for a couple minutes if there are any questions that anyone has that's watching. This is a good time to go ahead and ask those, and I'll see what I can do to answer or solve those. The main purpose of these Tech Tuesdays is to answer maybe some tough technical questions that you have, maybe something outside of the normal setup, maybe explore some workarounds for some uncommon problems that you may have, and then also to go over some of the new features that we have in the software. I'll probably also bring one new item like the Zapier setup each week, and maybe just explore something random like that that you may not know about that may help out, or at least kind of get the brain juices flowing on a few ideas. Cool. I will go ahead and wrap things up here. For those of you that did join live, thank you for joining. This is our very first Tech Tuesday ever, so it's only downhill from here. For those of you that are watching the recording, stay tuned for next Tuesday. We will be doing the same thing, covering some different topics and different features next Tuesday, and I will see you then. Thanks.